This, not this. This, not this. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Ned over at My Philippine Dreams. Today is May 17th, 2020, the first day of the rest of our lives. It is 12:39 p.m., and Chichai is working fervently to provide us with some modicum of income right now. So I decided that I would do a video on a little experience I had this morning in Dumaguete City. As everybody knows, they still got this quarantine thing going on, and there are limitations on where you can go and what you can do and all that stuff still. And they seem to be introducing more stuff to it. And one of the things that I actually heard about, and I heard about this, in all fairness, I heard about this a couple days ago, and I kind of let it slip my mind. So the onus of responsibility and blame and accountability on that is on me. One of the things they're doing in Dumaguete when you go through checkpoints, they're checking to make sure you got your mask, they're checking to make sure you got your pass, they're checking to make sure you got your helmet, and they're also checking to make sure that you're wearing shoes. You're not supposed to wear chinelas. You never have been allowed to wear chinelas or shower shoes while driving a motorcycle in the Philippines. But Dumaguete has just started enforcing that again. Now, this morning I went to Hypermart. I had to do some grocery shopping. Chicha had made a list of the things we needed. She was sleeping because she gets up around noontime. So she was sleeping, so I headed out around 9 o'clock in the morning, thinking that I'd get there early and beat all the crowds and all that stuff, because sometimes those lines can get kind of crazy. So I jumped on my trusty Honda Click and motored off into the sunset or the sunrise, as whatever it may be, and blasted down to Hypermart. Hypermart's one of my favorite stores. It's like going to basically like a grocery store / Costco in the United States, but it's here in the Philippines. So I did that. I motored along. I got there. I actually passed a checkpoint, but it was on the other side of the road, so they weren't checking me. So I get to Hypermart. I see everybody's lined up. There's about 20 people in line outside the store right now, but the store is obviously open as the line is moving along. I park my trusty Honda Click. I slide off of my steed, and then I realized that I had forgotten my quarantine pass, and they were checking the passes as people were going in, so I was like, damn. But again, that was on me for not being prepared. So I jumped back on my trusty Honda Click, started it up, listened to the purr of the engine, and headed back home. Now, about 20 yards away from Hypermart, there was that checkpoint. This time I was actually going through it. They pulled me over, and I was like, shoot, I don't have my pass. This isn't going to end well. I jump off the scooter. There's 2 LTO personnel there. One's female, one is male. The female I recognize because she has actually been working in LTO for a while in Dumaguete, and she's actually got a bit of a reputation. She's very good at her job. She is very professional. She's on point. She doesn't let anybody make excuses. So that has rubbed some people the wrong way, especially when it comes to getting parking violations and all that. And she pointed to my feet and she said, "Sir, you have chinelas on. You're not allowed to ride with chinelas in Dumaguete City." So they didn't even ask me about the pass. So, as I am wont to do, and this is what I do, I try to be as polite as possible when dealing with authority figures in the Philippines, try to be as polite as possible. And I always like to use my ignorance excuse, which isn't all that fabricated. It actually comes naturally to me. So I was like, oh man, I didn't realize. Oh, okay. And they told me to go back home. And they pointed in the direction away from my home. So I said, actually, I live over in this direction, so I have to go through this checkpoint in order to get to my house. And she was like, sorry, sir, you cannot do that. You have to go back home and get chinelas. And I said, again, I don't have my home is back in this direction. I cannot, I have to go through the checkpoint in order to get home to get shoes and all that stuff to comply with this ordinance. She asked me specifically where I lived. I told her. She looked kind of like she was like indecisive about what to do. And the guy was like, "Sir, you got to go back. You can't come through this checkpoint." And I was like, "Well, I got to go home, and I have to go through this checkpoint in order to get home." Make a long story short, too late. Finally, the woman says, "Sir, how about if we just give you a ticket?" And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And I slide off the bike because I had kind of sat back on the bike. And I think it's like a 300 peso ticket. That's what I had heard. It's only like $6. And I thought it'd be something cool to put on my Facebook, have that interaction, $6. So I slide off. She asked for my driver's license. I get my driver's license out of my Philippine wallet, which is a plastic bag. And at some point, she said in Bisaya at one point, something doesn't care. And it was either she said, I don't care, meaning herself, or it's like he doesn't care. So by the time I got my driver's license out, they decided that they weren't going to write me up a ticket. Maybe it was too much work. It was hot. It was starting to get hot because it's summertime here in the Philippines. So she said, okay, so this is a warning. Next time, make sure you have shoes on. And I was like, okay, no problem. I put my Philippines wallet back in my pocket, got back on my trusty steed, and headed home. So if you're in Dumaguete, and I guess they're starting to enforce this in a lot of other areas, provincial areas, you got to be wearing shoes. And it actually behooves us to wear shoes, because if you're in a motorcycle accident and you have shower shoes on, it's not going to be good for your feet. Instinctively, we always try to land on our feet. We try to get our feet down and all that stuff. And if all you have is a little piece of rubber between you and that, this thing's going to fall right off. The things are going to break, and your toes are going to turn into bloody cottage cheese. So it's not bad that they're actually enforcing that. And I just want to give a heads up to anybody who else is out there cruising around, going through checkpoints. Make sure you got your helmet on. Make sure you got your pass. And make sure, if you're on a motorcycle or scooter, that you're wearing shoes or sneakers and not chinelas. I still kind of wish I had gotten that ticket, because I've actually got a parking ticket here once before. It was written by that woman, as a matter of fact. And I still have it to this day. When I went down to City Hall, there was some problem with the ticket, so they weren't able to process it. So I was just able to keep it without having to pay any fee. I think something wasn't written down or something. I'm not sure. So it's like a little trophy, and I can look back on it and remember that time and space and all that. Matter of fact, I came up to her while she was writing the ticket, and I was like, oh, cool. And I got the ticket, and I was like, okay, sorry. But when I went to City Hall to have it processed, they couldn't process it. So that's all the news that's fit to print. I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is not going too crazy. I hope everybody enjoyed the little music montage Chichai and I did last time. We're actually working on a set list for our next show. Thanks again to everybody who threw some money into our hat. That was much appreciated. Went into the diaper fund. And until next time, puppies, rainbows, and unicorns for all. I found our little graphic again. And I'll see you next time on My Philippine Dreams. Bye. Hey, if you consider our work to be of any value, consider supporting us on Patreon. If you're a Patreon, you get a free copy of my ebook, and we do monthly Google Hangouts. So consider doing that, if you would please.